Hi, I'm Eric Johnston, the Associate Editor of The Australian. I'm speaking to Joanne Gorton, the CEO of Deloitte Australia, and this is for The Australian's CEO Survey 2026. Thanks for joining me today, Joe, and really nice to be here with you. So, looking at the economy and thinking about the economy, how would you rate the momentum going into 2026?
So going into 2026, we do see increasing and positive momentum for the Australian economy. Growth is heading in the right direction. Real wages are rising, and that is returning consumers to the market, which is a positive. And the level of investment is also starting to trend upwards, but that is something that really does need to continue. We really need to increase the level of investment that's happening in our economy and try and get that growth above the 2% GDP that we've been tracking at for some time.
Heading into 2026, what do you think about interest rates? What is the feeling, the direction of interest rates?
There is no doubt there was a lot of positive expectation around the movement for interest rates continuing to trend downwards. The recent inflation results clearly has put a little bit of a dent in those expectations. And so it is important that we do track and monitor what's happening with inflation, because it will become a challenge to continue to see that momentum head downwards for interest rates if our inflation rate continues to provide a bit of a challenge to the economy.
Just thinking about technology now for a bit, and we're on the cusp with AIs talking. There's a lot of talk about how AI can change economies and really have an influence on economies. What do you think does AI offer in terms of potential for the economy?
AI is an incredibly powerful technology. It can do many amazing things, but technology, and AI particularly, it is expensive. It is a technology that is not cheap. And so part of the challenge at the moment is for companies, including ours, to work through what is the opportunity with AI, where does it create a benefit for a company, and how do we actually harness those benefits so that there is worthwhile the investment that gets required to be made in those technologies. So that cost-benefit equation still is not overly clear or certain, but that opportunity is absolutely clear.
Do you see companies increasingly use AI and use it as a means for a productivity gain?
AI is certainly something which is gaining a lot of traction in many organisations, including ours. We see AI as something that can augment and support people in the work that they do. And it is something that companies are investing a lot more in, but that risk equation, that reward equation, still is one that needs to be very carefully thought through. And when it comes to the benefits that we're seeing from AI, both within our organisation and within other organisations that we work with, the increase in productivity is one of the benefits, but it's actually not the major benefit. One of the benefits that we're seeing is an increased quality of the service or the product that an organisation provides, and also an increase in engagement and excitement amongst people within an organisation. They are finding that AI does help take out some of the more boring parts of their work, and that's a real positive for them.
Let's think about people and the way that people work now. And heading into 2026, do you think companies are getting the balance right between people coming into the office and people working from home?
One of the clear things that we have heard consistently from our people every single time we do an engaged survey is how much they value flexibility. And flexibility does mean different things to different people, but there is a balance between that flexibility and the need for in-person connection. Organisations like ours and many other organisations very much are people-based organisations, and a certain level of in-person connection is important and is expected. That in-person connection really drives those moments of trust and enables you to really deepen your relationships with both your clients and your colleagues, and it helps drive that creative collaboration that's really important to continue to innovate and transform businesses.
So the balance, and it has been evolving since the COVID pandemic, and now it's a few days a week that people tend to be coming into the office, or what works for different companies? It's a fairly bespoke arrangement, is it?
We do see different patterns of work across different organisations, and it really gets driven by the needs of a company's clients. For us, we very much are a people business. Our clients are people, and therefore a certain amount of time is required to be spent in person. One of the things that we are really proud of is the fact that we are one of the largest employer of graduates in this country. And when we bring people into our organisation, one of the promises that we make is for them to grow and develop a career. And there is a certain level of in-person connection that's really required for us to be able to deliver on that promise to our people. And so for people to have those long-term, successful, fulfilling careers, again, in-person connection, incredibly valuable.
Jo, let's talk about reform and the reform process for a while. There's a lot of talk within business and a lot of frustration about the need for change and reform in Australia. What are your clients telling you? What's on their wish list for reform going into 2026?
I mean, one of the key challenges that our Australian economy has faced for a number of years now is productivity and what can be done to lift productivity. So when talking to many different clients, that is something that there's much talked about, is what can be done and what are those reforms that will drive the increase in productivity. And one of the areas that we think is important to focus on is reform that drives increased business investment. Companies do need certainty to be able to invest, and they need to be confident in the returns that investment will generate. So reform that can really supercharge investment, give confidence to businesses to be able to make that investment at pace, pulling back on the red tape and being able to accelerate that level of business investment are reforms that would certainly be welcomed by many.
Joanne Gorton, Chief Executive of Deloitte Australia, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.